Here to talk more about cyberbullying and the problems and the threat it poses to your children is Andre Banks, a student behavior specialist. We were just having an in-depth conversation ourselves about this. It can be devastating.
Yes, it can.
And what you do is you actually go into schools and you are helping local teachers, local administrators learn how to teach their students that they can't do this. Even though it happens a lot out of school, you've got a great audience there. You can teach these kids in schools.
Yes, we can. One of the things we like to say is, no matter what goes on, school is still the safest place for kids to be, right? Mm-hmm. There are a lot of resources there, a lot of people that can help them, a lot of eyes. And what we try to do is go into schools and help them build what we call a tiered level of school-wide interventions to meet the kids' needs no matter where they are. We have a lot of kids that we call invisible kids, and those are kids who are suffering kind of in silence. Mm-hmm. They're internalizing all these behaviors they're receiving from these kids who are actually doing the bullying, and those kids tend to internalize those behaviors and then end up doing things we don't want them to do, in the end. So what we try to do as Pearson is try to create a school-wide system of support where kids can get their needs met, know where to go. We have interventions and strategies we teach schools and classroom teachers about how to deal with those level of behaviors and interventions. And so that's what we try to do, create a nurturing environment for students.
And let's talk about what parents can do. Can you go to your school and say, you know what, why don't you implement a program like this? Why can't you teach our children, other people's children, how to act and how not to act is the biggest thing, how not to bully?
Well, of course, there's, state requirements for bullying for schools. They have to actually teach a bullying process.
All schools have to
have that, right. And so in doing so, the parent need to go in and find out what are the schools actually doing about bullying. And talk to your kids about it. It's real, hard to talk to kids about stuff, right? But one of the things you need to do is make sure you're aware of what the kids are doing on the web, checking their phones, things like that, and talking about bullying. Asking the question, have you been bullied in school before? And if so, ask the question, what do you think about it? And kids who are bullied, what do you do about it? So having those conversations with the kid helps the kid understand bullying and know where to go to get support.
And it's so hard for kids to say, you know what, I'm not giving you your password. And that's when you say, well, if I don't have your password, you don't have the phone, right? I mean, you need to be able to get in there and see what is happening.
You have to have a structured approach to that, right? You got to make sure that when you give kids a cell phone or a laptop and access to all these websites and things like that, that you set guidelines for using those, right? If those guidelines are not being followed, then yeah, you need to kind of, take that away.
It's such an important conversation, I think, that everybody have with their kids. Don't you think, on the talk to me if this is happening to you, and then also the other side of don't do it yourself, don't bully anybody? Yeah,
and the thing about bullying, there are three people involved in that process, right? They can help stop that cycle. You have the kid that's being bullied. You have the kid who's actually carrying out the bullying. Then you have the observer. Each person has a role in stopping the bullying cycle, right? And what we try to do is provide interventions for the schools at each one of those levels, because each kid, including the kid who's actually doing the bullying, needs intervention support to help stop that process. If we can stop that kid, then we can stop the process from continuing.
Andre Banks, brilliant information to share with our viewers. Thank you for taking time to talk to us today. Keep up the great work you're doing for our community. You are making a difference.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
You have to be here.